Hi guys, today I want to discuss the massive stone blocks at the Osaka Castle in Japan. The original Osaka Castle was built in the late 16th century. It was destroyed during the war and then rebuilt under the new ruling shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu in the 1620s. The present-day castle with its awe-inspiring megaliths were documented to be constructed and installed during the decade-long reconstruction in the first half of the 17th century. Among these huge stone blocks, the octopus stone is the largest and most famous. It measures 5.5 by 11.7 meters or 18 by 38 feet, and is estimated to weigh about 108 tons. There are at least 10 such big megaliths at the Osaka Castle. Please note these megaliths are granite, one of the hardest rocks. Researchers found that most of these giant stone blocks were sourced from quarries on two islands, which are over 110 kilometers or 68 miles away from Osaka. How did ancient Japanese cut these granite stones, transport and position them on a construction site 400 years ago? It's an incredible feat. So much so, it prompts a suspicion on whether these megaliths were created by lost ancient high technology from a previous advanced civilization. I did some research and found that there are other mysteries and lesser-known facts about these massive Osaka megaliths, which shine a light on how they were quarried, shaped, and transported. Were these huge stone blocks produced by lost ancient high tech or human ingenuity? Here are my findings. At the beginning, I want to emphasize that these megaliths are not thick blocks, but actually stone slabs, which have substantial surface areas yet are relatively thin. For example, the octopus stone is about 75 centimeters or less than 2.5 feet thick. If you climb to the top of the wall of the octopus stone, you can get a glimpse of it being a slab. The Higo stone, ranked the second largest surface area in the castle, is about 80 to 90 centimeters, less than 3 feet thick. Investigations revealed that both stone slabs are leaning against the stone walls on their backsides. A cross-section of this particular detail is on display in the Osaka Castle Museum. At the Ottoman Gate, there are 3 eye-catching giant stones, each around 5 meters high and between 8 to 11 meters wide. The chief curator at the Osaka Castle Museum, Atobe Makoto, verified that these 3 rocks are 3 slices of a single giant boulder. Although not all the enormous megaliths have exposed tops, it's highly likely that they are all thin plates. So, the majestic megaliths at the Osaka Castle are veneer-like slabs, which got split carefully. You may wonder, what was the purpose of this unusual construction preference with massive stone veneers? How were such big stones split into slabs? The splitting method is not too hard to spot. If you look closely at the stone walls of the megaliths, you can occasionally see some evenly spaced wedge holes, like these ones at the top edge of one of the megaliths. These wedge marks are visible evidence proving that the megaliths were cut through the feather and wedge technique. This stone splitting method is very effective and has been used by many ancient cultures and modern-day masons. In ancient times, stone blocks were separated by smashing a line of keyholes into the rock, into which wooden wedges were driven. Then the wedges were moistened, causing their expansion and cracking of the block along the line of holes. Rocks split this way have fairly flat surfaces, which match the look of the Osaka megaliths. On the surface of the octopus stone, along the slanted top and on the side, there are rows of wedge marks. Similar wedge holes can be observed on the thin slab side of the octopus stone too, as if someone had once attempted to split the slab to even thinner pieces. By the way, the metal wedges between these stones are believed to be used for stabilization. From these we can see, the megalithic slabs are created by the conventional feather and wedge stone splitting method, not lost ancient high tech. Considering the mighty sizes of the megaliths, it must have taken very skillful masons from the 17th century through meticulous execution to successfully split a gigantic stone into separate slabs. Since the stone slabs are merely leaning against the back wall, they don't serve any structural purposes. Then why would the masons spend the time and effort to do such a strange thing, to create veneers for stone walls? There could be several reasons, and they will relate to the Japanese culture during the feudal times. The most obvious reason is about appearances and aesthetics. Ancient Japanese regard using a huge stone at the entrance of the castle can give an impression of strength and authority to visitors. In castle construction, big stones are often installed in places where would naturally attract attention, such as gates or on main routes leading up to the castle. After the Tokugawa army conquered the previous ruling Toyotomi family, the new shogunate ordered the reconstruction of the Osaka Castle in 1620. The intention had twofold meanings. One was to demonstrate authority as a new ruler who commanded the lords, and two, to drain the financial funds and resources of the feudal lords, the daimyo, across western Japan. 64 daimyo shared the tasks for constructing the stone walls, which were built over a period of 10 years, starting in 1620 into the early Edo period. It is said that about 1 million granite stones were quarried and used in these extensive walls. Stones inscribed with these daimyo symbols can still be seen today. At the time of this construction, Japanese castle building had entered a period of maturity. So the stone walls of Osaka Castle were built using the best available technologies. Workers strive for a high degree of technical perfection, for instance, in the tight gaps between the stones in the walls. Even though the shogunate didn't demand the use of the biggest megaliths, the daimyo in charge of the construction wanted to show their loyalty to the Tokugawa family. Therefore, they sent in their prized megaliths with their family symbols engraved on them. It might have later become a competition among the daimyo clans, in order to see who could bring in the largest or most superior stones, and thus whose domain had the best masonry techniques. In a way, the castle walls were an exhibition ground for different daimyo and masonry teams. These feudal lords and masons took pride in their stonework. It's thought in Japan that the large megalithic stones, as well as their refined and orderly beauty, are a result of the daimyo staking their prestige on the quality of their workmanship. As mentioned earlier, ancient Japanese relate big stone at castles to strength and authority of the castle owner. Thus, huge stones are placed at important circulation and focal points like main gates. That construction custom explains why the biggest megaliths are where they are in the Osaka Castle. The largest octopus stone is at the opening of the Sakuraman Gate, the official gate to the main enclosure with the stately donjon. Only daimyo lords were permitted to use this official gate in that era. Moreover, the two stones on both sides of the Sakuraman Gate are the 10th and 11th largest megaliths of this castle. It's also no coincidence that this gate is perfectly aligned with the castle building. The megaliths are strategically positioned to complement and impress. Here is another interesting Japanese masonry tradition that played into the Osaka megalithic optical showcase. According to a Japanese guide, there used to be a rule on the construction of stacking stone walls in Japanese castles, that the depth of the stone should be greater than its height, so that the stone blocks can be embedded deeply in the walls to be structurally strong. As a result, in the eyes of the 17th century Japanese, since the height of the octopus stone is more than 5 meters, the thickness should be even greater. In their mind, the sizes of the octopus stone and other megaliths ought to be unimaginable. That must have evoked admiration, respect, and astonishment in visitors back then. Now we have learned how the megaliths of the Osaka Castle were cut by using the feather and wedge technique, and why ancient Japanese chose to use these huge stone slabs. There remains another question on how these massive granite stones were transported far away to site. Most of the top 10 megaliths came from two islands, Inujima and Shodoshima, that are over 110 kilometers or 68 miles away from Osaka. 7 out of the top 10 biggest megaliths, including the top 3, were brought in by Akeda Tado, the lord of the Okayama domain, which shows that he put in an extraordinary amount of effort. Kato Tadahiro, lord of Kumamoto, supplied the rest 3 of the top 10 megaliths. Even today, stones from Inujima Island are quarried to repair the stone walls of Osaka Castle. The process of quarrying, loading, shipping, unloading, and stacking on site must have been difficult due to the sheer sizes of the stones. How were the giant stones transported 400 years ago from the quarries to the coast and over the sea to Osaka? Luckily, records and archaeological finds can help in clearing this mystery. At many quarries which supply the Osaka Castle walls, wedge marks can be seen at leftover stone blocks, which again confirms that the stones were quarried through the feather and wedge technique. Several towns have memorial parks for the residual quarried stone blocks that were left behind and not used for the castle construction. Shodoshima has an Osaka Castle Memorial Park with displays of the remaining stones, tools for breaking and transporting the stones, and an explanation on how the stones were quarried using traditional tools. On land, ancient Japanese used big stone slides called shura on logs to deliver heavy stones. This shura device had been used since the Kofun period. Certain shura have curved profiles and wheels at the back. Multiple other memorial parks in old quarry towns also have exhibitions of shura as transportation slides or carts. Here are Japanese illustrations that show scenes of moving large stones via shura and labors. Many people would pull in the front, and others use long sticks as leverage to help from the back. I think likely draft animals like bulls were used to aid in the transportation of megaliths, as the Japanese wrote a specialized book on bulls as early as 1279. In modern Japan, there have been various community events to celebrate and reenact the old ways of moving large stone on shura, including the stone quarrying festival in Inujima, where the octopus stone came from. Shodoshima's Osaka Castle Memorial Park explains that many granite quarries were directly on the coastline, which were very convenient for stone transferring via boats. For quarries that are on higher grounds, the cut stone blocks were slid down on a valley-like stone path to the loading docks. Then the blocks were moved to big boats to ship to Osaka. Among the various theories on the methods to load stones to rafts, one proposes that the stones were loaded onto boats at low tide, and sailors waited for the high tide to set sail. Although shipping over 100-ton stones with boats from 400 years ago sounds almost impossible, it's in fact quite feasible. People in the 16th and 17th centuries made great advances in nautical technology. There were 800-ton ships in Europe. As for Japanese boats, Dutch circumnavigator Olivier van Noort encountered an 110-ton Japanese sailing boat in the Philippines in 1600. 2 decades before the transportation of the Osaka Castle megaliths. So, the Japanese would have had the means to transfer hefty stones on land and across the inner sea. For their national project of a castle for the shogunate, they had the determination to do so as well. Let's not underestimate the creativity and resourcefulness of our ancestors. As a comparison to the Osaka granite megaliths, the amazing aqueduct of Segovia in Spain was also built with granite, and it was completed in 112 AD, 1500 years predating the Osaka Castle. In summary, I believe the colossal megaliths at the Osaka Castle are the work of ancient Japanese masons who had considerable skills, technical wisdom, and ingenuity. They quarried huge granite blocks using the feather and wedge method, moved them through shura and boats to Osaka, split the boulders into slabs and blocks, and installed cut stones, including these enormous slabs, into position. See how we are in awe with these massive megaliths. It's hard to imagine what strong emotions were stirred in castle visitors during the Edo period. Today's Osaka Castle Tower is a modern reconstruction about 90 years old, as the castle had been destroyed and rebuilt multiple times due to wars or fire. But these stone walls survived. The monumental megalith gates and walls have remained almost unchanged for centuries. If they could speak, what stories they might tell. If you have any insights, please leave me a comment. If you like my video, please subscribe to my channel and share with others. You can also support me on Patreon, which is a monthly charge, or on Buy Me a Coffee. I appreciate your support. This is Curious Being. I'm Tina. Thanks for watching and see you next time.